welcome to another edition of On My Couch. So, my co-host Sue and I, what we wanted to do, wanted the opportunity to talk with really interesting and clever people about topics that interest us. And so we created this show, On My Couch. We're both, all three of us, on our respective couches. And the intent is really to have a relaxed conversation, learn more, and then maybe apply it in our respective work. So some introductions. So my name's Damien. I'm the founder of OMC Group, and what we do is we help people work better together. So that's about leadership development. It's around leadership team effectiveness. It's about culture, but fundamentally it's about how we help people work better together. My co-host Sue is a senior executive, seasoned executive, strategic leader, expertise in general management, marketing, retail operations, strategy, now working as a consultant, and Sue also as a board member and a chair for both profit and non-for-profit organisations. So I'll introduce Vic in a minute, and because we're here to learn a little bit more about her charity, which is People Stories. So you're the chair of Life Education. Maybe talk to us a little bit about that. Thanks,
Damien, and great to be here. Life Education Australia was started back in 1979 by Ted Noffs in Sydney, New South Wales, in King's Cross. And we are the largest preventative health organisation for educators and families. And we've educated over 7 million children to date since our inception. And if you don't know Life Education Australia or Life Ed, you would probably know Healthy Harold. Healthy Harold is our hero and our mascot, and he represents Life Ed out in all of our schools that we go to. Our mission is to empower children and young people to make safer and healthier choices through education. And our vision is for healthy Australians to live to their full potential. It's a great organisation, www.lifeed.org.au, and if you go onto our website, there is a great new program called Guide to Thrive. It's one that we've just launched. It's about helping children that are in year 6 transition into high school, and it talks about all the tools and tips for parents and for children in that sort of very period of a lot of change. So yeah, Life Ed, great organisation, and thank you for the opportunity to give it a bit of a plug.
Yeah, cool. And it's interesting, right? So there might be some crossover there with some of the work that People Stories does, which is Vic's charity in Cambodia, which we'll learn more about as well. So Vic, thank you very much for joining us from your couch in Hong Kong. You're our first international guest, so it's pretty exciting. So welcome. We appreciate you making time. So Vic is a founder, CEO, and change maker, and also the key driver behind People Stories, which we'll learn more about. But People Stories, Vic, I'll get you to add to this in a minute. But a charity based in Cambodia which helps children stay in school longer, and I'm sure you're going to talk about it much more eloquently, but which is a fantastic cause and a fantastic goal that and intent that you're delivering on, and been doing that for the last 5 or 6 years. Prior to that, Vic worked as a senior manager at culture and diversity at CommBank, senior manager of people and culture at CGU Insurance, and also head of people development at NAB as well, amongst other roles. So Vic, I could go on and talk more, but maybe I'll hand over to you and get you to introduce yourself and maybe tell us your story. I mean, People Stories is the name of your charity. So what's your story?
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much. And I use the Cambodian way to greet everyone who is watching. So Jamrupsu. Well, I came from a working class family from Hong Kong, and we didn't actually have a lot. Growing up, 2 of my sisters actually had to sacrifice their education and quit school right after primary school. And I remember they were telling me they had to even fake their ID card in order to be old enough to work at a factory. Wow. So they sacrificed their future and bring home what we needed when I was quite young at that age. My family couldn't afford any, further education for me. Lucky, Hong Kong did provide 13 years of free education, so I got a good foundation. But I always wanted to go to university, but there was no way I could reach that dreams. But luckily, one day I entered into a scholarship, and that brought me to Australia. And that just changed my entire life.
Wow.
So in Australia, I built my beautiful family, and I started to make my career. I was a single mother for about 17 years, very, very challenging, but at the same time, very proud of my achievement.
Mhm.
Um, my kind of career got to a point that I was very proud. I was very satisfied, and I was making a lot of impact for those corporations, including in the space in diversity, corporate culture, and leadership, which I'm very, very fond of. And I still remember day number one when I was entering into human resources. The interviewer asked me, "So why human resources?" And I still remember the answer, which stayed true all the way to today, is I want to bring out the best of people. And it's just in the spirit of what I do.
Yeah.
So with a lot of that achievement, and hubby got a job, and we moved to Singapore. That's where I'm sitting today.
Singapore, sorry,
And
not Hong Kong. I got that wrong. Sorry.
that's all right. Yeah, it's a bit of Hong Kong, a bit of Singapore, a little bit of Cambodia. Yeah, so by that time, my career reached to a point that I felt my effort was good. I got a lot of awards, but those are staying in the cupboard, and it's just doesn't mean as much to me as what life can be. So I was kind of searching a little bit about my purpose. What can I do? So I decided to leave the corporate world, going into Singapore, tried to be a Thai, but didn't work after 2 days. That was not
Thai.
absolutely not my cup of tea.
What's a Thai?
Um, a Thai is a lot of my friends do, do a lot of shopping. They visit different coffee shop, and we meet every day,
Yeah.
But just the conversation was not my cup of coffee or cup of tea. So I knew quite quickly that it's not my lifestyle. So I actually took off and I found an independent charity, a small charity, and I started volunteering. So that was 6.5 years ago, and somehow I never looked back.
So that's, I mean, we want to learn more about that, but so maybe a little bit more. So people stories. When was it founded? What's the purpose of? I've done a very brief introduction for it. And maybe what are the programs and success stories. And I mean, I know we chatted in preparation for this conversation, and you talked about one of your people that you supported or has just finished high school going into university. So, maybe any stories like that would be great to hear.
Sure, no problem. So I started volunteering, and I joined an independent charity, and they sent me to at the border of Thailand and very close to Laos. And that was the beginning of my life of a volunteer. So I did a lot of coaching there, and there was a lot of youth coming down from the mountains in Myanmar, Thailand, and Laos. So I was using the CAN coaching, which is do a bit of a plug for Commonwealth Bank. So the CAN coaching technique,
Yep.
to help those youth, planning for the future. And then that organization sent me to the village in Laos, and I was there helping a local community to kind of set up their little school. And knowing myself, I'm like an octopus, and I start to actually, find out what's happening in the network, in the community, and I start teaching at a local government school for primary ages. So from that point, and someone in Singapore wanted me to do kind of like a project in Cambodia. So they were in need to build a community library, and the sponsor, the company actually is from Singapore. So I took on the pro bono job, went into Cambodia. The best thing this company has done for me, yes, the library, but the best thing they have done for me is to find me a local family to stay with. And this family now is my family. And then from that point, I grew together with the kids, and then we call them the yays and the das, which are the grandparents. And I learned so much from them. And I start taking a lot of photo, writing stories. A lot of good friends from Australia say, hey, we should take one step further. Let's see what we can do to help that community. And that was kind of in 2017, the birth of People's Stories, from the stories into action and impact.
Mhm.
So what do we do? 1 in 5 children in Cambodia, particularly in the rural Cambodia, they tend to drop out of school,
Right.
especially at the age of 13, 14. So immediately you might ask, why do they drop out of school? The biggest reason, there are a number of reasons. The biggest one is because of opportunity cost. So boys will start working at a construction site, maybe earning about $4 or $5 a day, US dollars. And girls will be working in a guest house, cleaning rooms, get about $3 a day. And that's probably is the end of it. And then they continue with the poverty cycle. So, and then the next generation born, and then go to school and drop out, and then start working in a construction site. And I've seen plenty of repeated generations in that community I was staying. So that was a problem, and that still is a problem. And then we decided, why don't we give a bit of a hand to solve this problem? So we kick off with our first program called School for Life, which is a scholarship program. We started with just focusing a bit more on materials, but nowadays, so 6, 7 years down the track, our program is quite well designed. It actually focuses on 4 elements. The first 2 are a little bit more focused on materials, including a bicycle to get to school, having a school bag, uniform, shoes, papers, and pens, very basic stationery so that they can actually, perform at school and do their schoolwork. Um, I never actually thought those simple materials, which I had given plenty to my son when he was growing up, would mean so much to the rural community. Just consider some of them don't even have shoes, and they have to walk roughly about 2 kilometers under the hot sun every day at the age maybe about 5 or 6 starting. And that pair of shoes, that bicycle, is no longer just a mean from A to B. It's showing them somewhere in this world there are people care about their future. There are people want to help them, to help themselves through education to make a difference and hopefully break the cycle of poverty. So we started with that materials, but we very quickly realized that in order to shift the dial, those are not going to cut it. So we penetrate, go quite deep with the community. The third elements came to life is the home support. In order to educate the kids, we need to educate the parents. So the parents become change maker together with us.
Mhm.
We need to talk to the teachers. We need to influence the school directors to work with us on the program. So we spend a fair bit of effort in building our community. I remember the first maybe 2 years, and mind you, there are a lot of volunteers going into Cambodia. You see them maybe one time and then, hear them and then see the Facebook post for a couple more times, but you don't see them again.
Right.
And I was wanting to speak to the education of the ministry, the director in our district, and took me maybe about 3 years to get the first appointment. And thank goodness the corporate world in Australia, taught me really well about stakeholder management, thick skin, Yes, they don't drink coffee, but they do eat a lot of rice. So let's go and eat some rice. So got my foot in, start building my partnership with the local school. And today we partner with 11 schools in our district, and 3 of them are primary school, and the rest are secondary and high school, where most of the dropout situation happen. So that was the third element. And then the final element came to it is about the quality of education. I did a lot of interviews of the kids drop out from school, and it just, the question came, why? Why did you drop out from school? A lot of them actually said, I'm not smart enough for school. And then, all of us could come up with the answer immediately. No, it's not, you're not smart enough. And maybe the system doesn't, empower you to perform well at school. So then we started looking at quality of education. A couple of ways of doing it. Yes, we start training some of the teachers that work with us, on the coaching skills, facilitation skills, in addition to teaching skills. And we start actually looking at life skill workshops, introducing activity-based learning to a very conventional kind of classroom learning environment. And I'm very excited last year, 2022, one thing COVID did for us is to give us an idea to, when the school were all closed in Cambodia for about 2 years, why don't we bring the school to the children? So we converted a tuk-tuk. If you've been to Asia, you've seen,
Yes.
a motorbike in the front and a carriage at the back. There was an abandoned tuk-tuk. So we were given with the abandoned tuk-tuk, and then we converted it into a trailer and equipped with remote servers and laptops. And now we got a group of e-learning designers, and actually a lot of them actually from Australia. We're designing e-learning modules and take them over to the rural Cambodia, and then in the community, implement our digital mobile school. So improving the quality of the learning. So those are the 4 elements of School for Life. And if you talk about success, Damien, you're absolutely right. I call him our first child, but he's not really a child. He's like 2 heads taller than me. So Bun Sao, our first scholarship student, just graduated from high school.
Wow.
And we are all very excited for him. And he wanted to be a engineer. So he has now passed the entry exam to a university in Cambodia, and People's Story is supporting him to go through that further education. Not just because Bun Sao has achieved really good things for himself, but we want to create that idol, iconic kind of image for the other students in the village. Similar to my speech at the ceremony this year, I share with the students and the families, I said, we, you, me, may be born in a poor family, but that doesn't stop us from changing our lives. If we
Right.
believe in education, take the opportunity to use education as the biggest weapon that we could get, you have a very good chance to change your life. So look at Bun Sao. He came from a very big family, 9 siblings, and they're very basic farmers. And of course, parents could not afford for him to go to school. And he actually delayed his education for a number of years. I remember when he started in secondary school, you have all these little kids about 12 and 13 sitting in the classroom. And there was Bun Sao. I think he was about 15, 16. He sit at the back. He was taller than the teacher already. So being a mature student was not that easy. But he stick to it, and he overcome all the hurdles, and he spent 6 years and believe in education. Now he graduated.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so I'm very excited to see what's going to happen to him. Another very exciting kind of achievement or success is I think 3 years down the track with School for Life, we decided to create a STEM for Girls scholarship. There are a lot of bright young females in the community, but they were not given with the equal opportunity to pursue what they have in mind or their dreams. So we actually give them a bit of a lift. There are now 4 young girls studying STEM high school in the capital city of Phnom Penh. So we had to relocate them from the village and then partner with the school. And so they're actually now living in Phnom Penh, which is roughly about 7 hours on the bus. So independently living there without the family, but pursuing their STEM dreams. So later this year, 3 of them will graduate from the STEM high school. So that's another achievement I'm looking forward. But in terms of scale, we started with 21 scholarships, and this year we gave out 170.
Wow.
And all this growth, very organic.
Yep.
And a lot of you actually, enable that.
Okay, cool, terrific.
And Vic, so what would you say, what are the, obviously it's been a long journey that you've been on and very successful, to have over 200 or 100, I think, you said, just said
170, yeah.
170. So what do you see as the framework, or what kept you going, and what did you have to keep drawing on from your corporate world in order to not go, oh, this is all too hard, I'll go and do something else?
Oh, so that statement, this is all too hard, it probably comes to me maybe every second day. It is hard work. It is hard work. But when I reflected on my corporate life, it's nothing different from that. The corporate life was also hard. It was never actually kind of sailing and easy. What kept me going? Um, a couple years ago, when I was actually sitting in the classroom and start staring at the faces of the children, we start supporting. I saw Gong Nao, I saw Stranik, I saw um, all of them, and Bun Sao, and the faces, they have grown. It's that observation of growth, witnessing the growth, and really get me going. And I think that the difference between our work with People Story now compared to all my corporate jobs in the past is the impact I can see, I can feel, and I can steer it. In the past, I spent a lot of energy in preparing proposals, going in to see the exec team, selling it to them, and then get signed off, and then maybe implement it in 12 months, and then all of a sudden a new exec came on board, and then the whole direction will change. It happens a lot in the corporate world for the right reasons. Yeah, but the opportunity really see the impact is much harder in the corporate world. And in our little space in Cambodia, in the village of Pumo, I see that growth. I see not just the children, the parents are growing, the village is growing. And that's, to me, is so contagious. And I feel this is one of the most rewarding kind of rewarding experience that you can ask for. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's that you're really playing the long game, and you're right. Sometimes in corporate, even though, all of those sayings about leadership is about empowering your team and developing your team, quite often you're not fortunate enough to be able to look back in the rearview mirror and go, well, actually, I ticked that box, because you're right, things are constantly changing. So you're very fortunate in that regard, that you've been able to have a vision and really keep on the path. So congratulations. It's a sensational story.
Yeah, Sue, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it doesn't mean in the corporate world there's no impact. So we've done a lot of diversity program, pushing senior female leaders to the next level. I've seen a lot of ladies actually blossom into senior leadership. So that's great. I guess that for me, for the impact that we're making is really to those in the very raw community that really needing help. While listening to you, Sue, that was a story came to my mind. So I met Lisa not long ago. I mean, not met her the first time, but I visited Lisa not long ago. So Lisa is a young girl, just turned 16. She started with her scholarship with us at grade 7, which is the first year in secondary school. So she was on a scholarship for a good 2, 3 years. And Lisa has a very outgoing personality. Each time when I'm at the school or in the village, when she saw me, she always came up and then go, "How are you, teacher?" Having a conversation. So she's very outspoken. And that's fantastic. And then I always remember Lisa. And then during COVID, I think the second year of COVID, all of a sudden, Lisa went missing. We couldn't find her. We don't know where. We asked all her friends, and then we just couldn't see her. And then the family went out, of course, to look for her, couldn't find her. And after a couple of months, Lisa returned. She returned with a boyfriend. So she returned and asking for permission of the family to get married because she has fallen in love with this boy. And on top of that, she was pregnant. So at the age of 15. And underage marriage is quite common in Cambodia. And then being a mother also is kind of common in a way, but it's acceptable. So Lisa got married and was heavily pregnant. The boy stopped school, Lisa stopped school. So one of the customs in the education industry is once you got married and or you become a mother, you're not allowed to go to school. It's not a law, but it's a practice. So no school will allow her to get back to school. Sorry, I just got a bit of tickle in my throat. Let me just get this frog out.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
So Lisa quit school. The husband quit school. The husband at that time was 16. Lisa was 15. So they got married, and he started working at a construction site as kind of expected. That's the only kind of career path you can have without any education. Unfortunately, after 2 months together, one day the boy actually fell down from a second floor of the construction site and died on impact. And at the age of 15, not even 16, Lisa became a married woman expecting a child and a widow. So there was a lot of customs happening behind the scene, and then blaming Lisa about what have you done to yourself and so forth. But eventually Lisa moved back to her mom, gave birth to this child and this beautiful daughter that she had. But unfortunately the boy never got to see his own daughter. So Lisa was very down for a good period of time during her pregnancy and so forth. And I asked to see her. She didn't want to see me. Fair enough. You know, I just waited and waited. But one day I had another trip to Cambodia. I asked to see her, and this time she welcomed me to her home. And I went to her home and we sat down before I arrived. And I said to myself, let's just have a girls' chat. Don't be so serious, Victoria. Don't ask too many questions, you know, about school and living. Just be a mother, you know, to her. And then we just talk about motherhood. So we start talking about breastfeeding. We start talking about different things, you know, about the baby. The baby at the time was only 7 days old. So it's very, very young. So we start talking. And then about an hour after, you know, we start getting quite close. And she was blaming herself a lot and was trying to coach her out of that. And then in the end, I asked her and looked straight to her eyes. I said, "So, Lisa, you know, yes, you made a decision that your life is a bit more difficult now. I don't think you made a mistake. You made a decision. So that's for your 16 years of life, but you got maybe about another 84 years to go. So what would you like to do for your future? And it's for you, not your daughter, not for your mom, but you. What do you want to do?" And she looked straight to my eyes and spoke in English, good on her. And she said, "Teacher, I want to go back to school." And I couldn't help it. That moment, you know, my tears was coming down. I'm getting a bit emotional too. My tears were coming down. That just the moment to stay true to the purpose. We're here to help those kids to go to school and complete school. So a quick turnaround, instead of a return to work program, we had to come up with a return to school program and help Lisa. So this year is her second year returning to school with a young baby at home. Mom is giving her a hand. But that just, you know, the impact, the growth, the achievement that I can witness. And I'm really fortunate, like you said, Sue. So yeah, that get me going a lot.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and so maybe Sue, I was just interested. So we talked a lot about sort of the. I mean, that's a really powerful story, and I do apologise. Probably didn't do that justice, but I'm curious now in terms of some really great examples about sort of the impact that you're having. Putting an internal lens on it, one of the things Sue and I talk about in these types of conversations, is about, leadership. So I'm just, and culture, and so coming, and I know that People Stories is predominantly a volunteer organisation. You're a volunteer. The people that are, doing the e-learning content, for example. I know you've got someone in Bondi helping out with marketing. So your organisation, if you like, your professional organisation are volunteers. So a little bit around how do you manage a team of people who are primarily volunteers, and what are you bringing from the corporate world to help you have because whilst you want to have the sort of the great personal stories that you've talked about, what I also know that you want to do is actually have more broader change and more have a greater impact, which subsequently requires some of that sort of infrastructure and organisation. So maybe just talk a little bit around how do you lead an organisation? Long question, sorry. How do you lead an organisation made up of volunteers?
Yeah, so give a bit of context. Why volunteers? So before I started to run a charity, I always ask, I donate a lot to other friends, what they believe in and their support. I always ask the question, where does the money go? Mm-hmm. So to me, that become a motto that when I run the charity, I always want to be very clear on maximize the impact of that dollar. So we're very fortunate with People's Story, 100% of donation all goes to the program. And then from that kind of spirit, and we kind of still withholding that strongly in 6 years. Mm-hmm. And so how do I do it? The only way is everybody, give their expertise and time. And then I can reduce the salary level. So that was kind of the context about how can I run this charity in the most cost-effective way, so that I can maximize the dollar going into the Cambodian community for the work needed. So that was the need of looking for volunteers. I do it for love, but I can't expect everybody, come and join me because they love it. And especially virtual volunteer is quite hard because they're not in Cambodia, they're not Cambodian. It's quite hard, for them to see the impact. The first couple of years, then I had volunteers, and my experience was not that great at the times because I didn't understand, even though I have a lot of leadership experience, so how can I empower, engage this group of people that do not sit with me to do some work with me and for me, for the community, and not even in Australia, so how do I do that? So over the years, I came to term there are a couple of success factors.
Yep.
And I don't think they are that different from any leader in Australia in the corporate world. Mm-hmm. So number one is about engagement. So the volunteers probably will need a little bit more engagement because I don't get to see them, Monday to Friday. I don't get to speak to them often. We're not in the same office. We are virtual. So I have people actually working in Canada and then all the way to Philippines, Malaysia, and Australia. Yeah, so they're all over the world. So how can I keep that engagement level, as needed? And then the second thing I feel that in our area, the alignment of values is imperative. Mm-hmm. So if someone is not passionate about education or not passionate about children, they could actually short term to give you a bit of help, but it wouldn't be a long-term engagement with them. So because of the value, so important it is, so we kind of modify our selection process into a value-based selection process. Yep. Yes, we will seek for the skills, but more importantly, are our values aligned? And then the third thing I think makes a difference is I'm always very conscious to bring whatever happened in the village back to our town hall. Mm-hmm. So that communication channels has to be open and alive. So thank goodness nowadays we use, you know, smartphone, we can do video, we can do live stream, we can, you know, but everything is about the impact happening in the village. So I bring it closer to them. And then I think that another thing that we have to, as leaders, we all need to have this gift is, although it's a team, they need to have that individual connection with you as a leader. And that connection comes from, you know, good understanding, good support, and sometimes in our field is good friendship. So there are a lot of time we spend outside of the work and talking about, so what's happening in your world. Some of them may be changing jobs, some of them may be traveling, some of them might be dealing with health issues, you know, so, but we're always there for each other. So with all those elements coming to play, and we're very fortunate, we still have volunteers actually who started in 2017 are still with us.
Right.
So yeah, I lead now a team of 35 volunteers around the world. And thank goodness recently there are a lot of Aussies on board, and particularly the L&D people, you know, so they're giving us a bit of hand, do a bit of plug, you know, Mel from Melbourne, now she's living in Thailand, and Roberta from Canada. And so it's so many of them have been giving us time and expertise. And I
Cool.
find that, yeah, leadership is in my space is one of the most critical success factors. If you don't have that quality, you wouldn't be able to retain them.
Cool. And here you go, Sue.
I was going to say, so how do people get involved then? You know, this is your chance to talk to and encourage other volunteers to join
Yes.
your army, so to speak.
Yes.
So how do people find out, and how do people get involved?
Yeah, so we are always in need of expertise, and I also think that donation of time is the most precious gift you can give to someone. So I'm asking everyone to think about donating your expertise and time. And yes, great to come to People's Story, but any other charity nonprofit, you know, they need a lot of their support. So for us, the easiest way is find us on LinkedIn, People's Stories. And I'm sure maybe Damien, you can do a plug here for me later on in the video with our website.
Maybe not the video, but I'll find a way. In LinkedIn, you know my technical capabilities, Victoria. I'm not really sophisticated, so we'll find a way though.
Yeah, maybe I can give you a hand, make it like a captions. But yeah, so www.peoplestories in one word .net. Otherwise, look for me. Victoria Miloschewsky is a bit of a mouthful of the surname. Yeah, so once you find me, I'm very easy to get connected. So send me a text, send me a message. But I also want to say, if you can donate your time and skills, brilliant. But if you can't, you don't have enough time, but you really want to help a child to go to school is every day is less than $1. So $260 US dollars, and you will help a child to go to school for the whole year. So if you can save $1 for me a day and then donate to us to help a child to change their life, and that will be much appreciated.
Perfect.
Well, really powerful. And I just also want to say, I'd love to meet your sisters one day, because I think, you know, that's a lovely legacy that they're going to be able to look back on and go, look at what we helped create. I mean, I know you're the driver of it, but had it not been for their generosity to be able to do that for you, then you wouldn't be able to do what you've done today. So it's a magical story.
That's so true. Yeah. And when I was young, listening to the stories, it just never sank in. But once I went to Australia with the scholarship, it started to come to me, you know, what they have sacrificed for me to have that opportunity. If it's not because of them, I wouldn't be able to continue my education, and went to Australia and then build the values that I have, and then giving back to the community now.
Terrific, Vic. Thank you. We could keep talking for hours, you know. So because I know we've only really sort of just scratched the surface, but you know, just some really powerful stories that you've told, and for me, you know, it's about the sort of it's about never, you know, the thing I'm going to take away and think about is, you know, don't underestimate the impact of little things. You know, we might think they're little, but it's about actually how does the person receiving them actually perceive that? So that's one of my many takeaways. Sue, what did you know? It's a really lovely comment that you've just made. Anything else in terms of that Victoria got you thinking about?
But I think we should definitely have a part 2, because I don't think we've unpacked everything here. So hopefully maybe we'll be able to get Victoria to come back and do a part 2, because I think the opportunity to do the crossover between your not-for-profit life and the corporate life, to unpack all of that. I think we just touched on it when you spoke about leadership, but I'm sure there's other areas that you go, okay, there's a lot of similarities here and a lot of crossover. So that would be my takeaway. We need to do a part 2.
Okay, good, great suggestion. Love it. Terrific. Vic, final comment from you.
Yeah, I think that with all respect about on my couch, I think everybody need to get off the couch, take the first step. You know, doing something that follow your dreams and serve a purpose, it all requires the first step. And no matter it's a big step or little step, you know, just go and take that step. And then I believe the flow will come and help you. So, and I think also it's a powerful thing if everybody join forces to make a difference for the world. So yeah, get off the couch.
Get off the couch. Okay.
Okay.
After you finish watching on my couch, then you can get off the couch.
Correct.
Until you finish. Yeah, cool. Terrific. That was awesome. And I love Sue's suggestion. We're definitely going to invite you back. So thank you very much. Good luck with the move from Singapore, and whether you end up in Hong Kong or Cambodia. I know you're going to keep having a massive impact. So thank you very much for making time. Sue, good to see you again. And from OMC Group perspective, if you want to learn more about us, we're at omc-group.com.au. Our focus is helping people work better together. So I'd love to talk if you're interested. So Vic and Sue, thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thanks, Damien. Thanks, Victoria.
Bye-bye.
Bye.